Charlotte Lewis, creator and host of Share It with Charlotte podcast, where emphasis is placed on finding balance in relationships. I want to thank you again for tuning in with me. And before I get started on this particular session, let me invite you to look at some of my other episodes on my channel. And if you find any of those sessions to be insightful, whether informative, encouraging, or just good feeding, please click the like button. And if you have not yet subscribed or followed, please do so. I would really appreciate that and become a part of my podcast community. So why don't we get started on this particular one? Because I'm excited. I have a special guest by the name of Crystal Gordon. And this session was generated really just with a conversation when speaking with her. And this one is entitled Freedom, because I'm all right with me. And the more I spoke with her, I'm like, wow, what a good message and what a good place to be when you found freedom and you're all right with yourself. And it's all part of that relationship. And it's that balance that you found in yourself. I mean, I was just intrigued with just things that she was sharing with me. So I just felt like, if I'm intrigued and I'm encouraged and it's good feeding and good information for me, then it has to be for other people as well. So I invited her to be a part of my podcast to share that with you. And I really hope you get the information and good feeding that I received from listening to her. And so before we bring her on, which we're going to do that in just a second, I want to just thank you again for just being a part of this. And if you have any other topic that you think you might want to share, please do so with me. So I'm waiting on Crystal to come in, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with her. We're going to give her a round of applause because she took the time to be a part of this. So Crystal, thank you for being a part of this podcast. And I just really appreciate you sharing, your information and everything, because I was so intrigued when I was speaking with you that I just want to share this with other people. But before we get started on what that is, can you share some information about yourself so we will know who you are?
Absolutely. And hello there. How are you today?
I'm wonderful.
Um, Good. Well, I'm Crystal, and my life, for me to share something about myself, I'm such an open book at times, but I have a lot of secrets that I don't share. But, at the same token, I'm just a, everyday person. I love to be helpful to others. I'm retired. I retired a couple of years ago. I retired from what I was doing, not retired from life. Now I can really consider that I have started to live life, because of the freedom of my day that I have. It gives me the opportunity to just, look at life, look at myself, and understand what motivates me in things. And I'm a single woman. I do not have children. I'm 60, well, getting ready to be 64 years
Mm,
old. And
wonderful.
I just love the way, life has been for me. Not
Mm,
always good, but I'm in a good place now. I'm in a good place now. I was born in a household, well, really in a family of men. Seriously, because there are very few females in our family. My mom was the only girl. Her mom had three sisters, but any of those offspring, everybody only had one daughter if you had one. So
wow.
I grew up in a household where looking at a male figure, I could always trust because this was family. And as I grew up in life and, began to, young adulthood, I had to learn the hard way in some lessons in life how, to trust, the opposite sex on the way that I was raised. Totally different. I guess you would say, in a cocoon within my family of all these sea of men that were so trustworthy, so loving towards me. And, when I got out in the world, it was like, that's not everybody's experience.
So true.
So,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So that's just a little
There
bit
had to be
about
something
me.
though. Yeah, but there had to be something though to be raised the only girl with so many brothers in the household. That's a lot going on, especially being just one.
Yeah, but I didn't
Mhm.
know any difference because that was my natural experience.
Mhm.
It really
Gotcha.
was my natural. I do not know what it feels like to have a sister. I know what
Mhm.
it feels like to have a good friend, female friend,
Mhm.
but it's a difference when you have, I think, having a sister versus only brothers.
Yeah. And see, I
Yeah.
grew up with mostly girls, and so with very few brothers. So I'm really the opposite of where you were. But a lot of that,
Right.
in terms of your childhood, it helps shapes you,
Yeah.
in terms of personality and just things about you. And
Mhm.
it stems a lot of time from your childhood, which is what I want to ask you about, and that is share with us too, Crystal. The Crystal that used to be, and the Crystal that is.
Okay. The Crystal that used to be, even still struggle with a little bit today, I've always been so independent. Seriously, I can remember as a little kid, whatever I thought in my head I wanted to do, I would at least try to experience what I thought it would be. You know what I mean? For me to, I was just fearless in my thinking, and being raised to be so independent. I think that it was somewhat of a curse to me because I have a hard time giving up control. Seriously, I have a hard time giving up control of the way I think or the way I feel things should be done. Something as simple as me and one of my cousins was going somewhere, and she's not used to driving cross town the way I will go anywhere a car will take me. And we always alternate on who drives, whoever drove last, the next person drives. And here we are having to go way to Arlington, somewhere that she's not familiar with. And I wanted to offer, well, you want me to drive? And it wasn't out of a genuine place of helping her out because she's unfamiliar with the area. Is that I wanted to take control of the situation, and I have to sit back, no, stop wanting to be in control of everything, so uh I'm working on that.
There
I'm
you go.
working on
Is it working?
It's getting better.
Okay, good.
Seriously,
We all a work in progress, though. Everybody's
yeah.
working on something.
Yes, it's
Everybody.
getting better. Yeah.
Yes.
So just letting go. I know we've kind of all heard the saying let go and let God. Well, and that's easier said than done. Seriously,
Of
because
course.
we tend to want to still have our hands and control in situations because he knows better. He knows the outcome.
Yep.
So I have taken the stance of could be something major or serious. I'm not going to worry about that. If I have prayed and put it in God's hand, I'm done with it. I'm learning to be done with it. Take my control out of how to, correct or handle a situation. But I'm also sensitive enough to know when I hear his voice on when to act, when to move. I will, and it's not me taking control of it because I have this thing about me, myself, and I. And the thing is, each one of those elements of my character, they have a real character in my head. Seriously, the myself of myself is just happy go lucky, whatever comes, whatever goes. But the me in me will look at both sides of things. And then my personality that I describe as the I in me is the strong one in me that looks
Mhm.
at things, whether they're right or wrong, what God says about this or that, and that's what takes precedence over any whatever situation that it may be. It really helps me to talk to me.
Oh,
Seriously.
that's good. That's good. So you're
Yeah.
processing basically. That's what you're
Yeah,
doing.
that's
And you
all
let
it
the
is.
I lead. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's actually good, Crystal, because a lot of times, especially when you process and you let other things get in the way, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you may know better, but then other things take over and you allow
Mm-hmm.
things to dominate. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just found the way that actually the way you process, you bring it back to you. And you said, but it's the I. And that's your way of looking at things and saying, you putting yourself out there to really look at things realistically, without
Absolutely.
all that other stuff. Yeah. That's actually
Absolutely.
very, very good. Before, and we talked about this, when you were talking about your level of communication, I know the way things were. Share with that because you're not the only one that a lot of time when you're communicating how things can be misconstrued or things can take a different turn or just how you communicate. And I'm just saying how you were.
Okay, truthfully, seriously,
Mhm. Yeah.
I speak the truth as I see it. It's
Mhm.
my opinion about things, and sometimes my opinion can help others see, the real meaning of what's going on in a conversation.
Mhm.
So I tend something I noticed about myself tend to when I communicate, and I have gotten so much better with this. I used to, here's a change. I used to automatically elevate my voice when I feel as if I'm not being heard. And it's not so much of what I'm trying to communicate. I had to learn that my tone and delivery was not allowing the person to hear what I'm saying. So instead of me getting louder, I need to figure out how to explain or convey what I'm trying to say in a manner that will be receiving to the hearer.
Yeah, and we talked about that because when people do that, really, people no longer really listening as much they're watching because they're looking at
Exactly.
you, the
Hmm.
person, because
Absolutely.
and really it takes away from your purpose to begin with, and that is to be heard. And now it's not
Yes,
as much as them hearing you as much as seeing you. And
absolutely.
so either way, it's a failed way to communicate because your purpose was never fulfilled because
Right,
now it's
right.
taking a whole nother turn.
You
Exactly.
aborted the mission. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And I love you, and I want to share this about Crystal, because I've known her a couple years.
Um, 2022.
Okay, couple
Yeah.
years, and the reason this podcast is called "Share It with Charlotte" podcast is really because it was Crystal that named it, and I want you to share a little bit about that, Crystal, because um it resonated so much with me when you shared that with me and said this is the name of your podcast.
Hmm. Well, because we've had so many meaningful conversations, and I would love to just come, sit by you and just share whatever. And I found it that I could be thinking about some things at time, and I'm like, oh, I want to tell Charlotte this. I want to share this with Charlotte. And so one morning, on my way in to the office, I just heard the Spirit of God just tell me, the name of her podcast should be Shared with Charlotte because of the way you love to share, and others love to share. I wasn't the only one, it was a privilege to sit in that chair and just to talk to Charlotte, because you're so easy to talk to. And you don't have like I said earlier, you listen, but you don't judge. You listen and you give a really, really good, concrete advice to others. If that's what they're seeking, you help a person to see outside of their own thinking of a thing, the way they think about a thing, because I never would go back to myself and ask, why I think about this. But as I began to speak with Charlotte, every time I would have, like a conflict or something, not necessarily a conflict, or just wanting to share something, whether it's good news, disturbing news,
Mhm.
or, just wanting you to know this side of
Mhm.
me or what I'm
Mhm.
thinking, you make it so comfortable to want to share with Charlotte. So, God spoke it to me. I told you what he gave me. And obviously, that was his plan for the name of the podcast because you received it.
Received it. And
Hmm.
when she said she used to sit in that chair, it's because we have a investment real estate company, and Krista at one point worked with us, and that chair always sat it near my desk. And so she would sit in that chair and we would talk and she would share. And I'll share with her. So it was just good conversations, meaningful
Absolutely.
conversations. And
Always.
actually you were the first one, Crystal, who said you need to do a podcast. I mean, I'm talking about out loud. God told me first, but to hear it in audio from a human being, it came
Yes.
literally from you first. And
Mm.
that was just so profound. So you're really part of why I'm even doing this. So, and I thank you for that because all of that was, I was just waiting for confirmation. Even though I heard it, but I was waiting for confirmation, and you were the first. I heard it from other people, but you were my first human to actually
Oh,
tell me that. You were the first, and you named it, which was like you told me it was something that God gave you. And I
hmm
received it as soon as you said it. It
hmm
was like absolutely. It
yes.
resonated. So I thank you for that. But
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah, I really do. You just don't know that. That was a blessing to me. But
Mm,
but you blessed my heart when we was talking and you were just sharing because the title of this particular episode is freedom, because I'm all right with me. And
yes.
you actually said those words and you just ran through them, but not knowing the magnitude of what you just said. And I was like, wow, because we're all at a place wanting to have that freedom. What does that feel like and look like to you?
It's so easy. Just being me.
Mm,
Seriously, just being me, and how, the progression of being okay, all right with me, it came with realizing that I had an unconditional love for myself.
amen.
Seriously, I had to start loving myself
Yes.
unconditionally, with all the flaws that, we privately have that others may not know. I just began to be okay with me. If I, just say something as simple as wearing makeup, I do not dare go out in public without makeup on most of the time because of, the flaws that I see. And I got to a point to where I didn't wear makeup, period. Seriously. I wore makeup sporadically or if there's an occasion, but most days I will not put on makeup anymore. Seriously, because I'm free from thinking that I need to look a certain way before I present myself to the public. And what you see is not really the essence of me, it's my spirit. You know what I'm saying? My spirit,
Amen.
man, of
Yeah.
who I am. It does
Mm,
not matter what I'm housed in. And
mhm.
I had to be okay with me. And I started being okay with me. Seriously, I really did. I had to admit some things to myself. I had to admit that I like certain things that I try to act as if I don't like, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. But I had to admit that and not try to be or have a persona of who I am to the public, present who I am to the public of who I am, really am. I'm not trying to, be someone that I'm not. And nobody's saying that I was trying to be someone that I'm not, but I am so comfortable with the skin I'm in right now, seriously. And I strive to be a better person today than I was yesterday. That is my mission statement for my life. Just try to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And as you move through life, I have found that becoming a servant to others really, really is the essence that bring me joy. It really is, and when I say being a servant to others, whatever the situation may be, whatever a need might be, if I can be instrumental in, resolving or making someone else's burden a little lighter, or even just listening to others, I want them to know that they matter, to me. If you're telling me something, it matters to me that I pay attention and listen to what you're saying and not, just give my opinion about things, because that's the worst thing you can do, because you're not walking in their shoes at the moment. You're not having the emotions that they're having. I can only explain if I went through a similar situation, how I responded, how I reacted to that situation. And, it'll bring about a thought provoking thing in me or in others. You may not speak it out loud, but you'll begin to do the me, myself, and I thing, within yourself. And above all, I feel be true to thyself. Seriously, just be true to thyself. And one of the things I had to admit to myself, Charlotte, I was so petty. I had a petty spirit going
Mhm.
on, seriously. And
Wow.
it's nobody wants to admit that they're petty.
Mhm.
And I try to, present to the public that, I'm this nice, easygoing person, but in my head, I'm like, you know, and was being petty,
Yeah.
seriously, about some things. And I didn't like that about myself. So I
Mhm.
chose to not be petty. I tried to be conscious of, am I just being petty? Is this valid? What I'm trying to say or do. And then sometimes it's like, my mom would always say, just leave it alone. And it's simple as that. Just leave it alone. Quit rehearsing things in your head, because we will create a scenario in our mind
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just not the
Yeah.
truth. Totally
Mhm.
not the truth. So that was one of the things self-reflection, seriously, and being truthful to yourself, telling yourself the truth about things. And the thing is, how have you heard the saying, dance like nobody's watching?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I do that with myself, even in public. You know what I mean? I just really, really want to be myself because there are certain parts of my personality that some people may know and others may not know. I have separate friends that I don't commingle with each other because I'm this way with this group of friends, and this group of friends know me to be another way. But what they fail to realize, that's all in me. So you can't say what a person won't do or won't say,
Right.
because you've never experienced that side
Mhm.
of that person. Nothing surprised me about people. It's part of them if that's the
Yeah.
case. And I've learned to
Mhm.
let people just be without
Mhm.
judging. Just
Yeah.
let them be. And
Mhm.
I do that for myself. I just be, and I do not try to be something that I have nothing to prove to no one. And
Like
I
that.
finally realized, just being myself, just be yourself.
And I love what you just said. I have nothing to prove to no one because
No.
so many people spend time trying to prove that they're this, so people
Hmm.
would think of them that way, so let
Yes.
me do this. But like you were saying, you have found who you are, and I've accepted where I am, flaws and all, whatever that is. And
Hmm.
I do love the fact, but there's some things you also said. Um, there's some things I didn't like, so I'm working on the pettiness. You know what I'm saying? That so
Yeah.
we do see things in us that we all are working progress.
Yeah.
So and you found that place of freedom. So you're not trying to go out there and be this because somebody expect this of you, or like you said with the
Exactly.
makeup because you expect to be made up. But you're just saying, "And I love me unconditionally. I'm
Hmm.
good," and like you said,
I'm
I'm all
good with
right with
me.
me. Am I
Hmm.
right? It's not
Hmm.
even about you anymore. I'm all right with me. I'm all
Absolutely.
right with me.
Absolutely.
And that's
And
so
when you
critical.
Absolutely. And when you
Mhm.
become a servant to
Mhm.
others, and I'm not
Mm.
saying no, everybody don't have a servant's heart, seriously,
Yeah.
but you have to find a place, I think, within yourself to be a help to someone else,
Exactly.
to be a
Exactly.
help, whatever
Yeah.
level of help that
Yeah.
may be.
Mhm.
I have a friend that they just happen to not have a car right now. And I'm okay with calling her up. Hey, do you need a ride home? I don't wait for her to call
Right.
me to
Mhm.
see if I can give her a ride. I already know her situation. And if I'm at a position at that moment, and I know it's time for her to, get a ride, to leave work or whatever, I'm not doing anything. Just, hey, do you need a ride? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. But genuinely, I was just wanting to help her because that was a need. Some days it was cold, it was
Yeah.
raining,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't want to have to catch the public transportation,
Mhm.
at night trying to get home. So, and it's not really, she doesn't live close to where I'm going to pick her, but the idea of my friend being out in the cold, wet, dark, just trying to get home, I'm sitting up comfortable in the house, full tank of gas, and but girl, call me when you get home. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah. That's good.
No, that didn't
Yeah.
work for me. I mean, just little things. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to go out of your way to be
Mhm.
a help or a servant to others. I learned a lesson in humility back in the summer. I'm sitting up at a Jack in the Box, Charlotte, and I was waiting to meet someone, right? And it was a lot of homeless people I could see afar in the back of me. And I saw out of my peripheral view this homeless guy. And he was coming out. He had his Jack in the Box bag. He had his drink. But what went through my mind as I watched him in my rearview mirror pass behind me, I'm sitting over here thinking, oh, don't come up to me and ask me for anything, you know. But the lesson I learned in humility, and I still get emotional when I tell this story, the
Okay.
man just walked on by.
Mm.
The Holy Ghost got a hold to my ear, jacked me up by the collar. And it was like, who do you think you are? You know, and I began to look at the man from the backside of him, and I could see that, you know, his clothes were tattered, dirty, you know, but he had his drink in his bag. You know, he was going to wherever he was going to enjoy his meal. And I'm sitting up in my luxury vehicle, you know, the air is running, it's hot all outside. And I began to look at him from head to toe. Okay, I'm looking at him, clothes tattered. But when I got to his feet, this man had on one white tennis shoe, one black tennis shoe. That broke my heart. And that's when the spirit started speaking to me. Who do you think you are? He needs nothing from you. You know what I mean? He's happy where he is. He has shoes on his feet.
Mm.
And even though they're two different color mixed match shoes, here
Yeah.
I am sitting in a cool air conditioned car that, you know, people look at to be something that I realize ain't really
Mhm.
nothing but another vehicle. And it broke my heart to think that I had something he didn't have when he had a peace of mind going on about his life. I'm sitting up here worrying about somebody bothering me, you know, and that was a lesson in humility that I will never ever forget because to see him walking, he had everything he needed. He didn't have to ask me for anything. He had his food, he had his drink, he had his
Yeah.
shoes on. It
Yeah.
may not been in a way that, you know, God has blessed me, you know, the conditions were different, but there was no difference. His state of mind was of peace and happiness at the time. So I learned a lesson from that, seriously.
Yeah. And that says too, though, it's not the stuff that
It's
give
not
you
the
peace.
stuff.
It's not
It's
the
not the
stuff.
stuff. No,
Mm-mm.
ma'am.
You
It
have to
is
have that
not.
within you. Peace comes from
Yeah,
within. It's
yeah.
not. It's not the outer. It's what's within you.
It's
Yeah,
what's
it's what's within
within
you.
you.
Yeah, but that was a
Yeah,
valuable lesson, though. It's really
my
because,
God.
yeah, um, and he didn't even look at you.
He
He didn't
didn't
even tap
even
your
look
window.
at
He
me.
just kept going. You know,
Yeah.
he was fine. Like I said, he was at peace. He was thankful with the drink and the food, you know, and what he had on.
Hmm.
He was happy. He was in a good
Uh-huh.
place. And you
And
with more wasn't. You
I
wasn't even
thought
in a
I
good place.
had more.
Yeah,
Thought I had more
yeah,
because he what he had was the joy of peace. Seriously, happiness in where he was. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? In
yeah.
life. And that's where, you know, some of my thought process is I just want to be happy where I am in life. I do
Mhm.
not try to look at what I don't have
Yeah.
because now what I do, Charlotte, when I think, if you
Oh, I
understand
like
what I
that.
mean. When
I
I
love
think
it.
about the goodness,
Mm.
I begin to thank him for his goodness. So I try to have a mindset of thinking back over my life, thinking where I am in my life, and it does nothing but cause a praise to start going. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I
Mm-hmm.
can't do nothing but thank him because her friends right now, one of my friends, good friends, been knowing her since the 80s. She just happened to ask me one day, how do you do it? How do you make it? Because, I don't work. You know what I'm I do not have a job. When I
Mm-hmm.
retired, I just retired from doing that. But at the same token, I understand, the mindset that I have to go out and, earn,
Yeah.
monies. But to
Mm-hmm.
the outside looking in, it looks as if I'm just, sitting at home and everything is good or whatever, and which it is for me. But at the same token, when she asked me, how do I do it? I'm like, well, I just blah, 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 and I started telling
Mm-hmm.
her. She's just like, I used to always sit up and wonder, how do you do this? How do you get to have this? And we're open enough to where we can tell each other our personal thoughts about, one another. And that really surprised me because I'm thinking, don't nobody care about what you do, how you do it. You know what I'm saying? As long as, I don't ever have to ask anyone for
Mm-hmm.
anything. And here we go back to that independent, mindset that I
Right.
have. Um, I'm not saying that I have everything that I aspire to have in life, but I've now realized that I really don't want what I think I want. You know what I mean? Seriously, all I need is what I have. I have everything I need,
There
put
you
it
go.
that way, and
Mm-hmm.
some of my wants as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
But it never dawned on me that people be looking at you on the outside, wondering how you do things on the inside. And if you ask me, depending on what you ask, I could be an open book to you.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
because I have
Yeah.
nothing to hide, and I'm only going
Right.
to tell you what I want you to know to begin with. So,
Exactly.
yeah, and I try to be
Yeah.
truthful about me.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
Yeah. But a lot
yeah.
of people, even with more though, struggle because they don't manage. A lot of that is just also how you manage what you have. And then I admire you because you're so creative in creating ways you still can make money, and you enjoying life because they give you also purpose in what you're doing because you're helping a lot of people, and
Right,
servicing them.
hmm,
So God gave you that, other outlets. And
right,
so, and not to have to clock in at a 9 to 5. And so,
hmm,
and just blessing you, to
right.
still be someone who's still thriving,
Yeah,
and that within itself, because at the end of the day, really, God looks at your heart. He truly does,
absolutely,
and you have a heart, and,
absolutely.
and like you were saying, to serve. And so, a
Hmm.
lot of what you're doing, because you share it with me, you just serving people, helping people, and in the end, God blesses you for your deeds, and you paid for that. But you still giving back. You're still
Absolutely.
giving back, yeah. But when we
And
talked about, and I just wanted to bring this up too, though, because we talked about how it's also in the heart in which you give, that
mhm,
as opposed to when people grudgingly give, or you have resentment because you had to give, and stuff
yeah.
like that. I
Hmm.
mean, just share a little bit, because we spoke on that, because that means everything. It really does, into how you
Okay.
give. Mm.
Okay, I'll use the example of, people panhandling, you know, on the corner. And sometimes I have just freely gave. They didn't have to open their mouth, I just see the need. I try to help, meet the need as I can. But what I had to realize, Charlotte, I don't have to if I don't want to. I had to be all right with that. Sometimes I gave out of guilt because of the way they're looking at you. You know what I mean? I've given one time to somebody, and they gave me this long story about what they needed the money for,
Mhm.
and I have found in my experiences in giving, you don't have to give me a sad story. I'm either going to give or not give. And the Spirit of God told me I shouldn't feel convicted whether I give or not. It's my choice to give,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and I will freely give. And sometimes I'm not, feeling I don't want to give or may not have cash to give at the moment. And I'm okay with that. And if I'm, really convicted about wanting to help someone, as if, like you said, I will make it my business to loop back around because when I feel convicted to help and don't help, oh, that's a bad feeling for me.
Yes.
Seriously, I will beg for forgiveness, but everything to
Mhm.
me, as I'm doing my self examination, is obedience, an act of obedience. And to just do things to be seen is not an act of obedience to me. That is not, everybody have a spirit, connection with God. I shouldn't say everybody, but I would think, we have a relationship with God. And just the way he speaks to my heart on behalf of someone else, he does it for others. I'm not the only one, because he was created, in love. He came to be a servant, and to be Christ
Yeah.
like is to be like Christ,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everybody have to find their place in that in their own journey, because what's in my heart that he knows the true intent of it could be totally different from someone else's. And I will not feel guilty about making choices that I didn't want to make, because if I made that choice and didn't want to make it, what good is that? I did
Yeah.
it grudgingly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
when we spoke about that, and I was sharing with people have to be careful, when you grudgingly giving someone to do
yes.
something or just and
Mm-hmm.
you think you still did a good deed or you still, but I'm telling you, you really not. You didn't do a good deed because if
Yeah.
you grudgingly give or you
Mm-hmm.
grudgingly had to do this, because it's all about the heart and what you serve and what you give. And so
Absolutely.
and you can say, yeah, I gave that. That's all you did. You just gave that. But the deed
Mm-hmm.
wasn't good because good didn't come from you in what you gave. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes it good. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the what, it's the heart in what you give.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and you see, that's what makes it good. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the stuff, it's how the stuff is delivered.
It was the
Um,
love that you gave out in the form
mhm.
of a monetary
Yes,
value
yes,
to the receiver.
yes, yes,
Yeah. And
yeah, yeah,
just don't think about it. You know what I mean? Just try to be better today
yeah,
than you were yesterday. I
yes.
mean, I have some really, really messed up yesterdays, and I have to remind myself that that's just what that was. That was yesterday. This is a new day, and I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. However, that looks to anyone.
Exactly. But you, it's first how it looks to you. That's first because we're speaking of
Yeah.
relationship we have with ourselves, and that is
Self
that part.
reflection.
But I wanted to just add this before we wrap things up, and that is, when we were speaking before, you mentioned the fact that you have to be friends with you.
Yes,
Yes, as that relationship.
absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. I had to become friends with myself, seriously,
yes,
because I would consider myself to be a good friend. But as I was doing a self reflection, I had to wonder, I had to become friends with myself, seriously, to admit some of the
mhm,
things to
mhm,
myself about myself, the things that I liked about myself, the things that I didn't like about myself. And that's where being okay with me came about, because now I'm friends with myself. I don't have no secrets about myself to myself. And I'm not trying to be in denial about myself. If I think that I'm, this grand, person everybody's seeking, after me. I know that's not true, girl. And stop lying to yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that. And to realize that the persona that you show to others, you're creating, a character for them if you're not being yourself. Seriously. And when you're not being yourself, you get tired of playing the leading role. You get tired of not being yourself, and the real you will eventually come out. So let's start with the real you. Seriously, I had to begin to be friends with myself and be all right with myself.
mhm. Because true friends accept
Mm,
you where you are. Yeah.
yes.
And
Yes.
true real friends, true friends will tell you also about yourself. Some things that
Absolutely.
true friends without judging, but just sharing.
Hmm.
True friends forgive. So we don't hold on
Absolutely.
to, you know, okay, I gotta get back because true friends will. They
Hmm.
forgive because the relationship is too important to not forgive. And so when
Hmm.
you're friends with yourself, you treat yourself like I'm first my first best friend to me. And then
Absolutely.
right and take that and run with it. All this is good. I'm just saying because it really is come down to, like you said, the freedom. You have found
Yeah.
freedom within you, um, and
Yeah.
because you all right with you.
Yeah.
You good with you, the bad
Yeah.
and different, all of that. But you
Yeah.
still know that in order for me to be even as I continue this journey through life, I'm always trying to be even still a better me. But at the same
Hmm.
time, I'm all right with where I am. But as I move
Yes.
along, then I'm working on some things. And
Absolutely.
that's beautiful. Just the freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you strip
Absolutely.
away all that other stuff that was clinging to you
Hmm.
to that you felt like you had to be something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that other people matter more than what you matter.
Right.
And that's it's so sad when people put themselves in that position to make them second
Hmm.
and where everybody else matters, what they
Hmm.
say, how you see me, how you judge me, that
Absolutely.
I stop seeing myself as good.
Hmm.
And the beauty within me. Because too many and people will intentionally mess you up with
Yeah.
stuff. And that's what people have to understand. Everybody don't mean you well. And they will tear
Right.
you down. And
Hmm.
then you don't know how to see yourself as
Hmm.
yourself. We need to all find that place of freedom, that love
Absolutely.
and that relationship within ourselves. And
Within
that's
yourself.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I said before, I believe if you begin to think back
Mhm.
and you will begin to thank God, and because He created each and every one of us individually, when He created me, He broke the mold. When He created you, He broke the mold. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Nobody is exactly
Nope.
alike,
Exactly.
but we have to learn to let people be in the essence that God created them to be. You may be the one that plant the seed or the one that water the seed, but God is the one that's going to give the increase of where
Yeah.
they need to be,
Mhm.
through their journey in life because we were created for His purpose.
Exactly.
For His
Exactly.
purpose.
For his
Yeah.
purpose, always.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to leave it here, but I want to, before we completely close it out, is whatever last words that you want to say to anyone who may be listening to this segment.
I may love yourself. Really, truly begin to love who you are, understand whose you are, and understand that you matter. You matter. Each and every one of us matter. Begin to matter to yourself. A lot of people tend to get into the people pleasing phase of life. And it's okay to want to, please other, and when I say please, like I'll use an example. You want to do well so your parent, children, so your parents can be proud of you, but you don't do it just to please them. Just begin to, be yourself, fall in love with yourself a little bit. You'll really discover that you really don't know yourself as well as you think you know
Mhm.
yourself. And just begin to love on you. Start loving on you. We tend to want to take care of everybody else, and we
Mhm.
know, we gonna get us. We're the last ones to, take care of our own self. But if you don't can't take care of yourself first, how are you gonna be at your best self to help others?
Mhm.
That's the way I look at it. I'm starting to, look at life like that. And as long as I'm all right with me and I'm at, my best energy level that I can be, I can help a lot more, many people and just be yourself, people. Just start to love yourself. Stop looking at what you don't have or what you would, aspire to be. Take day by day, just take it day by day and try to be better today than you were yesterday. Create
Mhm.
goals for yourself to reach a goal today that I wasn't, able to obtain the day before. Just keep moving one step in front of the other. Never stop to look around, because when you stop to look around, you start getting into this phase of judging. You know what I mean? You start looking at, what you don't have, what others have. But we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? We all have breath in our bodies. We all have the mindset to want to be better. Now, if that's not your choice right now, you will become to see that life is so much better and easier if you just begin to love yourself, because you will have the capacity to love others.
That's beautifully said, Crystal. Beautifully said. And we're gonna take that, guys, and I'm just hoping that who's listening, if you know anyone who's struggling with that, please share this session, because a lot of good things were said that could be very encouraging to someone. And Crystal was honest enough to even talk about some things that, her flaws from the past, and things that she
Oh
even
yeah.
still working on, because we all a work in progress. I don't care who you are. If somebody thinks that they have nothing they can work on, I'm just telling you that is absolutely not true, because God made us all
Right.
imperfect. So because we are
Exactly.
imperfect, we're always working on something. There's flaws in all of us. So,
Absolutely.
but we're all striving for that place of freedom, that you're
Mm-hmm.
all right with yourself, that you're all
Yes.
right with yourself. Not saying you're
Mm-hmm.
perfect self, but I'm all right with myself, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
free. I'm free
Yeah.
to be in that place. And that is
Yeah.
such a freedom. I mean, just
Yeah.
just that alone, the freedom
Yeah.
to be in
Yeah.
that place of just loving you, you
Just
know, uh,
loving you.
loving you, and yeah, whether
Yeah.
anybody does it, I'm loving me,
Yeah.
and I found that place of where I'm with peace within me. So,
Mm-hmm.
Crystal, thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
And
you're
I mean, I really
welcome.
do, because it was such great information and such good feeding, and just listening to how you were sharing, that
Yeah.
you're not the only one. I'm just saying, and that's why I kept saying you're not the only one, and I'm not the only one that need to be hearing it.
Right.
Because there's people out there who truly have not found that place, and that's
I
really
know.
what this whole podcast is about. Finding balance in relationship, but it first with you, and that
Right.
that really is, yeah. Hmm.
Right. I want to say one more thing. As
Okay.
I mentioned in the beginning, that I'm 64 years old,
Mhm.
this process of me being okay with me is just 6 months. Seriously.
Mm.
I lived 63 and a half years before I really saw what we would say the light. Just, be okay with yourself, with certain things about yourself, your look, the way, skin tone, body shape, or
Yeah.
whatever, because I realized who I am is not who you really see. It's on the inside of me. It's in my heart. That's who I am. And it's only been going on 6 months, and I feel so much happier. Seriously, so much happier with life, just
Mm-hmm.
accepting me for who I am.
Mhm, mhm. Because it affect life, it affect everything,
Everything.
everything,
Yes.
everything, because you see everything through different lenses, because you see you, and it's like everything is different than what it used to
Right.
be. You see
Hmm.
things on different perspective than what it used to be. Um,
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, and I want to encourage whoever's listening, if you're younger than 63, don't let it take you 63 years to find your place of freedom.
Absolutely.
Don't let that, but like she was sharing, she's at that place. It took her
Hmm.
63. And thanks for saying that, because that's very critical, what you
Yeah,
just said.
seriously.
And it also says to me, you're never too old to find your place of freedom.
Absolutely.
So whether you're
Absolutely.
65, whether you're 69, and you still haven't yet found that place, you
Hmm.
still can find that place. It may
Hmm.
take you, it doesn't matter, but as long as you find it, so that
Hmm.
the life, as you walk through life and you live through life, that you have that
Yes,
that joy and that peace within you. And
absolutely.
life is, you see things totally different. Like, it is a beauty when you see beauty within you. Then you
Absolutely.
see, yes, absolutely.
Because some of the journeys that we
Mm,
travel in
mm,
life, they are a lesson for our future self. They
Absolutely.
are a lesson for
Mm,
others to hear, to maybe not fall
right.
into a
Yeah.
pitfall that you've already traveled down. I can tell you how this is going to play out just based on my life experiences and things. So I do know that some of the things I wish I wasn't the example that the lesson had to be learned through sometimes, but it built character in me as well.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So, but
Yes. Yes.
thank you for having me on. My
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you. And I want to say to my audience, if you found this information to be encouraging, was insightful, or whether just good feeding, click the like button. And
Yes.
any comments you might want to leave, please do so. And I'd like you to, again, check out some of my other sessions on my channel. And you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you have not yet subscribed or followed, please do so and be a part of my podcast family. And I just want to thank you, Krista, first. Then I want to thank you all for tuning in and just listening to this, because I really, for me, it was great information. So thank you for sharing it. And I look forward to the next episode. If you guys have any additional topic that you might want me to address, please do so. Whether I bring a guest or whether I address it on my own, but I'd like to meet you where you are. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much.